Hey out there, legal warriors. In this video, I'm going to cover a massive thinking mistake that gets so many people in trouble. And what is that thinking mistake? I'm innocent. Doesn't the system care that I'm innocent? The system doesn't care that you're innocent. And if I'm going to cover that, I also want you to know what we need to do about it so we can get you through a criminal charge, especially if you're dealing with something like this in Washington State. If you're interested in this area of the law, stay tuned. This is the video for you. My name is Attorney Lance Fryrear. I'm a defense attorney in Lynnwood, Washington. My law firm's been defending people charged with crimes all throughout Washington State for more than 20 years, and I'm putting out these videos to help educate the public. So if you find this useful, please like and please subscribe. More people get to see it. More people get the help they need. Now, it's just a big problem that we deal with here, and I try to deal with reality when we're dealing with the criminal justice system. I don't deal with wantality, how I want it to be. I deal with how it really is, because hopefully if you're going through a criminal charge, you care about getting the outcome that you need, not getting the outcome that you need how you wish it would happen to get the outcome that you need. And so what we hear from people, and it's a natural thing to hear, is like, I'm innocent. Doesn't the system care that I'm innocent? And of course, you know what I'm going to say. The answer is no. The system doesn't care about any such thing, right? About innocence or guilt. And partly it's because it's an illogical and faulty way to think about how the criminal process works. The system, I think people sort of use a generalization to get out their frustrations about the combination of people working together in the criminal justice system to obtain arrests and convictions and protect victims and get funding and stay busy and feel great or feel retribution, whatever it is. We all come to it from a different walk in life. When I started as a 24-year-old person, a Rule 9 intern during my first jury trial at age 24, I thought about it just like you all did, right? The system's out there to do justice. It's going to do the right thing. And I was assigned to the side when I started my career that would prosecute people, right? I'd be the one trying to call the police officer to the stand and have them testify about what happened. And I'd be the one to decide at my level of court, at least, what justice was, right? And, I don't know if I had any room to think about whether someone was innocent or not, because I was assigned to a side, right? And I was also a really young attorney, or even pre-attorney, right? An intern. And certainly I didn't have the experience, the life knowledge to be able to really even consider whether someone was innocent or not. I was assigned to take the non-innocent side. And so when we think about the criminal justice system, think about there's just individuals that are employed in certain roles. And they come to their job with different levels of experience, with different points of view, and with different levels of energy in what moves them and what they're trying to accomplish in their day-to-day role, right? They have the same 24 hours. The prosecutor has the same 24 hours that the defendant does in the day. So we have to really pay attention to that there is no, brain of the system. There is no, hive mind that is deciding if someone's innocent or not. There's each person in the system getting through their own role. And so if we can realize that there's no one who's going to, there is no, God of justice in the way I see things that decides if someone's innocent or not, and I proclaim you innocent. If we can get over that wish for absolution, the wish for, to be cleared in our name, then we can really start to look at the individual people that make up the system and what their roles are, so we can try to affect what they do. Because I'm going to make an assumption, if you're a criminal defendant, and especially an innocent one, you probably don't want to be convicted of a crime, right? You probably don't want to have to go to jail. You probably don't want to have a record of a conviction mess up your entire future based upon something either that you didn't do or didn't exactly happen like they say it happened. And so if you walk around with your big banner saying, I'm innocent, and no one's paying attention, well, you're going to do nothing but suffer, and you're probably going to get convicted too. So what's a more useful way to think about it? Well, how we think about it is each stage of the proceedings, we have a different person that can make a decision that can either help or harm the defendant, our client, and for my firm, or you if you're a defendant. Each person has a role where they can make a decision at a certain time that helps or hurts that goal of not being convicted of a crime. And of course, who makes the first decisions? Well, the police, right? The police make the first decisions, and that's prior to the case starting. Someone calls the police pull someone over for a DUI, for somehow the government gets involved through police action, and then the officer makes a decision to either pursue a case against someone or not. And they sometimes will pursue a case against an innocent person. Why? Because they don't believe they're innocent, right? Based upon their own biases, racial, otherwise, gender, all types of reasons, economic, right? Based upon their own experiences, based upon, what they bring to the table, what something means to them, right? If they've got a daughter that has been shoved around by a boy in the past, well, when they come to that type of allegation, they might be a lot more sensitive to it, right? They might relive that anger towards whoever harmed their child through the investigation they're doing now, right? So, number one, those are the first people that have to be influenced, right? And so sometimes we can't influence them as the suspect, but sometimes we can in talking to them in a nice way or getting our point across in a certain way. And it may not be possible, but we have to think about it. It's not about being right, it's about getting the result that we need. In that case, hopefully avoiding being charged with a crime. So what's the next stage? Well, if you do get charged, who's the next person to have influence? Well, it's typically the judge, right? The judge has the most influence at the beginning of the case when there's a first appearance or an arraignment where the judge can set conditions. The judge can hold someone in jail for bail, right? The judge can order someone to wear a GPS monitor. The judge can order someone to, wear an alcohol monitor, or not drive without a license and insurance, or, just not go home. And so at that point, we have to deal with your attorney and giving them the information that they need to put forth to that decider, what that decider, the judge, needs to hear to get the best possible result for the defendant and that stage of the proceedings. And then finally, what do we have that's the obvious one, and probably the most important one? It's the prosecutor, right? The prosecutor is the one that pursues a charge on behalf of the government. It's not the judge pursuing the charge. It's not the victim pursuing the charge. It's the prosecutor. So the prosecutor can add charges, reduce charges, make charges more serious, make lower recommendations, higher recommendations, or drop charges, dismiss charges. And so when we think about that system, if you happen to be innocent, it's going to be a similar approach to even if you weren't. We want to do things that's going to make it easier for the prosecutor to let your case go. And we know what are some reasons why a prosecutor might let the case go. The prosecutor might let a case go because your attorney may be able to show you're innocent, or they may be able to show that some things are wrong, but that's not where you start. If you ask the prosecutor to dig into guilt or innocence right away in the case, they simply typically don't have the executive function to do so, right? The thinking power, the energy, because at a pretrial stage, they're not, dissecting things with a scalpel. They're looking at it from this long ways out. And so oftentimes what a really great defense attorney might do, at least for non-felony matters, is, talk to you and get you to do some educational things that might make it easier for the prosecutor to relax and think that you're a better risk to let go. Right, in a domestic violence case, it might be DV-MRT classes. In a DUI case, it's going to be an alcohol and drug evaluation. There can be other types of very serious other things we need to follow up on in more serious cases, but it's mainly those type of classes that don't admit guilt, but they go to show the prosecutor that, this person is getting some education about what got them in this situation. Now I'm more willing to listen to that innocence talk or that mitigation talk And those are typically at a pretrial stage done, with quiet talking, not loud talking. And if we can get to that point where we're using your innocence in a combination with the other stuff that we're going to need you to do, and we understand what's motivating and driving the prosecutor, we're more likely to get to the result that I assume you want, which is not being convicted, not going to jail, not having bad things happen to you. So where does innocence really matter? Remember, the system doesn't care. Remember, that's what we're talking about. And if we had some, almighty, justice person over this entire system, well, then maybe we could get them to care, but that'd be even more risky, right? Because everyone has a different point of view. But if we can't get the prosecutor to do what we need them to do, and you have a strong claim of innocence, and we think that you have low risk to the case getting worse, well, then we might take it towards a trial. And at a trial, I want you to remember, we're not trying to show the jury that you're innocent, right? We're trying to suggest to the jury that the government is unable to show you're guilty, right? And usually, that's the difference. And sometimes showing affirmative innocence, if you have a strong enough case, is a good psychological approach to a jury. But usually what you're trying to do with the jury is try to show that, hey, the government hasn't done enough, right? The police did it wrong, the prosecutor did it wrong, here's all these other things that could happen, because it's pretty hard to prove a negative that you didn't do anything. That's why it's set up like it is. The burden isn't on us, it's on the government to show that we are guilty. But remember that although that's a good hypothetical, it's a good law school exam, it's a good thing that we talk about, innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. It should be unless, but there's a reason why they say until, is because jurors have a hard time, letting people go on a technicality of there's reasonable doubt, right? If they do say there's reasonable doubt, it's usually because the defense has done a great job really demonizing the government, typically law enforcement, occasionally a prosecutor, or sometimes the process overall. So just please don't think the system cares about your innocence. That doesn't mean the system doesn't care. They just don't think about it that way. The system cares typically to make sure that they're doing what they think is right and that they're doing what they think is good. And a good attorney is going to point out to the government how you're doing good things, how you're doing right things, and how maybe what's in the report isn't actually what happened. You put that all together, along with all the pressures and what's driving cases forward, driving cases to trial, versus having cases get dismissed, then you have the best possible chance to get the result you need without being so angry. Because when we're angry about how innocent we are, we get really stuck. And remember, radical acceptance of reality, if we can radically accept the reality that the system doesn't care about my innocence or not, but yet I'm still going to be okay because there's ways we can get the result that I need. If you can really accept that's how it is, even though it's not how we want it to be, you'll get less stuck, more able to live, more able to sleep, and you'll have a much better chance of getting that result that you deserve. So I hope you found this useful. If so, please like and please subscribe. More people get to see it. More people get the help they need. And more importantly, if you had a criminal matter in Washington State and you need some help, feel free to reach out to my firm. If we get on board, we'll listen to what happened, we'll identify a way forward, and we will be there for you. Thank you.